As we'll start off in the bottom right-hand side with our Blue Zerg player. This is going to be DRG. As in the upper left, our Red Terran player is ByuN. A fresh new best of 3 TVZ. I like it because, you know what, I really look at this and I say, well, you know, this has definitely been a matchup which has delivered in the past. ByuN has obviously been very fun in TVZ to watch lately. DRG's ZvT has been really, really good this year. I think he's maybe lost a little bit of his flashiness almost recently. So yeah, maybe lost a little bit of his flashiness, but I don't know, like, still good. It's obviously just he was so good at the start of the year compared to what a lot of people expected, and I still think he's really good now, right? But has been a little bit less impressive. I mean, only because I think to him losing against Innovation a couple times, getting swept, and there's no shame in that. It's just he was doing the sweeping of Innovation earlier in the year, so I actually don't know if we casted a ByuN DRG matchup yet. I feel like DRG has not been around in a lot of these events that I've been talking about. Have a look at ByuN DRG history here for a second. They played once, and it was literally like 12 days ago, and it was a DRG 2-1. So since then, they haven't played since IPL 5. Wow. And DRG won that 2-0. So ByuN has never won an official match against DRG. 2-1 for DRG about 2 weeks ago. So I shouldn't have looked at that because that's a freaking event I wanted to cast some replays of. It just spoiled myself. It's okay. There's so much StarCraft going on. I'll have forgotten about it by the time we get there. Reaper comes in and a couple of drones get popped around. Lings show up to fight, of course, and we go back and forth a little bit. As you see our Queen popping out, and Reaper is just coming up out the front. A couple more command centers on the way in at the moment as our factory about to finish in the main, and obviously just a 3cc opener. We'll see exactly where ByuN wants to take this, as we obviously saw him go just for a low amount of Hellions earlier into faster barracks with this. So yeah, let's see what exactly the choice is. Third hatchery is double checked, and we'll go from there. Alright, we're just going to be seeing this Reaper gets pushed away, low HP, but yeah, you know, it's picked off a creep tumor, which is always a good win in the early stages. Creep is always a good denial. I don't think anybody ever picks off a creep tumor and is like, ah, oh, I'm disappointed with that. You know? It's, creep tumor and the Reaper getting out alive. Thumbs up. So it's going to be 4 Hellions again. Looks like we will then go into these extra couple of barracks, so yeah, ByuN repeating what he did on this map earlier against Solar in the previous series. So if you were watching that, you've got a good idea how this is going to play out. If you weren't watching that, well, it actually just kind of plays into like an accelerated bio style of 3CCs. You don't go into the starport early, so you miss a little bit of harassment there. Other than that, I think all okay. There's a couple of Hellions and a Reaper back around into the center. And they're looking to see what they can maybe get up to here as well, as the stim pack is about halfway done. So stim pack about halfway done. Iraq soon to finish. Our engineering bays go up in the back of the natural. So engineering bay is about halfway along there, as we do just have the couple of extra extractors coming down on the natural as well. Everything's setting up for the future. Bay nest before the lair. But it is still there before Evo Chambers, so maybe looking towards faster mutalisks. And I actually think against this bio style, I much prefer seeing the faster upgrades. Because I feel like if you go into faster mutas here, it feels difficult to get something done against someone who's on 3 racks so early. So that's my only concern. The good news is maybe that Baneling nest is early enough, you go straight to Bane speed, and that's obviously going to help. Having Baneling speed against this is absolutely a big thumbs up. 1-1, combat shields on the way out of the engineering base. The Marines, a couple medevacs coming through. And this factory off to the side will drop down and build a reactor. So, as our starport's already building a couple medevacs, we're going to be finally onto Widow Mine production shortly as well. It is Baneland speed as the priority off the left. This is a really good push forward. Gets all those active creep tumors on the left side, and now we'll get a couple more on the top as well. And that's a lot of energy that just went down, basically. I mean, you replace it all very quickly, but it keeps the queen energy low. That removes transfusions from the equation. And that actually is a pretty big deal, because having a couple of transfusions can make the difference in keeping those queens alive at times. So, yeah, that's pretty nice. You do see our ByuN army continuing down the right-hand side. Hellions joining up. Our 1-1 upgrades coming through on the main base. Combat shield coming in as well. And the armory is now dropping in the back of the natural. So gets that armory underway. Our medevac's going to join up to the right-hand side. Everything going to begin to unload. And away we go. Our Marines are going to stem forward. And that's already a couple of creep tumors going down here. So 3 creep tumors down. The hatchery being picked away at. Ling Bane going to start running in at this. And these Marines just going to load up and go elsewhere into the main base. Very similar to play to what ByuN made earlier against Solar. I'm getting a lot of deja vu from this game so far. DRG doesn't really respond very well to these Marines. So, like, he doesn't run in on them very quickly. So now the Marines are unloaded and you don't have the Queen support. The Banes get there, but ByuN lifts up. And he's microed back with these Hellions. If he could keep those alive, that'd be great. Not the end of the world if he doesn't. It's only 4 Hellions, right? But he got a bit of creep spread. He will unload here. Misses this Overlord kill, which would have been just a nice little addition. Otherwise, I gotta say, look at the upgrade difference. I mean, yes, these mutants are gonna shut down the drop play quickly, but boy, the 1-1 already done. 2-2 ready to start if ByuN remembers to do it. He's got some huge upgrade timing windows here. No, ByuN, please don't do this again. Please do not start +2 armor and not +2 attack. Okay, he gets it. Well, again, just also reminiscent about that ByuN solo game where he got +2 armor but never got +2 attack for much later. He's coming in, Missile Turret taking some shots. The Meters are going to take down a depot as the Marines are going to be running back. As the Widow Mine burrows up. Connects! Huge connection into the center of the Ling Bane. Despite the splitting of DRG, ByuN has enough to keep pushing through here. Meters are on the way back, mind you, so we're not far away from dealing with this. I like that lift up of the Widow Mine because all 3 of those Widow Mines were kind of stacked before. And then they all go down with one set of Banelings. Now, I think both of them get a chance to fire. Both are kind of well handled. And the Meters will hunt down these Marines as they look to unload into the main base. Well, actually gets a Mutalisk out of this and will at least force the Lings to respond. The Meters alone will not be able to fight this too easily. Now turns around, targets down 2, 3, 4 more Meters. So even then the Marines do well. The medevacs get shot down eventually, but ByuN finds some good trades as now the 2-2 upgrades. Continuing down, continuing on up on the engineering base. So continuing down the right side, a couple of Lings being picked away at, and the creep spread. It's going to be a little bit of trouble. Marine's going to continue to pull back. Widow Mine should get these Banes eventually. Just took a couple of attempts, didn't it? But got there in the end. Mutants cleaning up on the right. We're going to see the Marines. All of this pulling back through the top side with the Thor in tow as well. So all of this coming back through and over to this side. Extra Mutants still on the way, and just going to be seeing them continue to rally up to the top left-hand side of this. So getting that ready to go. Core shot was pretty nice onto those Mutants initially as well. So putting some damage out there. Is on the way out from DRG. Just going to be seeing him looking to tech up too. I can't believe this is 2-2 against 1-1 though. It's definitely problematic as ByuN +3 armor starts before +3 attack. Excuse me. I wonder if ByuN is doing it, you know, something here which is like he's basically always going into like a like he seems to always press his armor upgrade before the attack upgrade, and that's so weird to me because the attack upgrade is always the priority. So to press armor before attack and then to forget about the attack yet again, I mean, that just seems like such an easily fixed problem because if you're gonna accidentally forget an upgrade, at least if you go armor then attack, or attack then armor in your order of, you know, pressing both the buttons, at least then you get attack and not, you know, at least then you're just missing the armor, which is less influential. This feels like such a weird problem to have, and he's gonna have it again, and it's a shame because now he'll miss out on the 3-3 timing, which he's absolutely got a right to have with how far ahead he is on those upgrades, but his own mistake is what's going to cost him it. That's a nice catch on a bunch of Banes that were initially looking for some counterattack, some run-by action. Now pressing down. We have a few creep teamers coming into play here. These Marines on the right-hand side going to continue to split back as well. And Bane Muta pulling back. Obviously, the Marauder front line kind of scary, and now reinforcements from ByuN getting a chance to move forward instead of having to defend against what was the Mutas that were causing issues. The Banes here going to get up the ramp, but the Widow Mine's connected well. There's a few Banes left over, mind you, so another few Marauders will be necessary. They get there. And I gotta give credit to DRG. Surviving with this upgrade deficit has not been easy. He's about to finally even out the upgrades for a little while at least. As now army rotates over to the left-hand side. Mutalisks trying to figure out where they should go. They're going to find a few SCVs here perhaps, as Ling Bane in the center of the map is going to come through. I say Ling Bane, there's only 3 or so Banelings in this. Just a massive Zerglings here. Widow Mines actually not going to find a chance to fire for a long time there. The Lings were out of range, and now ByuN 5th base denied instantly. And straight up dying as well, so you've got to rebuild that command center to get it online. However, ByuN's got to push down the left, and 18 Banelings morphing just not ready to go right now. Huge play with the Mutalist, but I think keeping this onto 4 bases of ByuN, he makes this a much more playable scenario, as the full surround on this missile turret will keep it alive, and hence the Mutalisks will have to back away eventually. At some point, when do you bring the Mutas across this map for the fight, though? Because obviously, you probably don't win these fights as the Zerg player just with the Ling Bane, but if you can turn this into a middle Ling Bane fight, well, that's a very different scenario, right? As we just see these Banes continue to crash in. And they clean out a good amount of Widow Mines. There's still a couple left over. There's still a good amount of Bio left here as well. Widow Mines, no idea where they are right now. Finally starting to get a couple connections. Marines having to kite away. You've got a Thor that just showed up on the left side as well, and now a little bit more Marine Marauder also marching down the left-hand side. They get in on top of the group spread here, and a few of these crew teams already going down. So again, some good pickoffs on this at the moment, as we're going to be having our middlest of DRG. They will go up to the top side, and they will take aim at one of these bases again. So looking to see where they can go. Our Bio pressing forward once again. Yeah, there's a lot of Banes that are in a fair amount of trouble here right now. Is just going to be seeing our Banes continue to go down, and just going to be seeing the rest of the Marines continue to set up behind the Marauders. So that continues to build up here. Widow Mine shot is good. The Thor to tank as well. I mean, if this Thor is tanking the damage, then you're probably in a pretty good spot. A few Marines peel off to the side, fight this hatchery. If you can stop DRG defending the 5th base, well, obviously, that's damage, which is huge. I mean, this Carapace upgrade goes down, that's also huge, right? There's only about 3-3 upgrades being denied. Multiple transfusions to try and save the day on that. Good kite backwards. Now more Banelings running in, but the Marine Concave is just too much. At the very least, you're going to win this position, I think, as ByuN. DRG has to fight. I think he knows he can't give up the upgrades. So he's going to sit here and fight, but in doing so, will lose a lot more. It's a tough decision, because I think losing these upgrades has a good chance of just losing you the game. I think DRG, I mean, if you lose the upgrades, you're also probably losing the base. And if you're also losing the base, I can 100% understand that you're probably losing the game as well. So I get the defense or the field that you need to defend. Because I guess if you lose this base, you probably also then lose this bottom left corner as well. And then you really are struggling for bases. So a rough fight, but DRG has to take it. GG's. Top left-hand side. Our blue Zerg. Sorry, not top left, bottom left-hand side. I was looking at the scoreboard, and DRG was on top, and I was swapping it around, and it slipped into my sentence. Bottom left-hand side, our blue Zerg player is DRG. Here on Pillars of Gold, down a map in the series. Let's see if he can bounce back. He put up a really good fight. I will still stand by the fact that I just didn't really like the build he chose against what ByuN was doing. ByuN being our red Terran top right. what did those meters achieve? Like, yes, in the end, the meters got damage done. Don't get me wrong. The meters were not like a waste. It was the timing of the meters that I had something against, because I don't think the meters being out early really did that much in the game. Yeah, it stopped the drops from happening a little bit earlier, but the major fights, you're down those upgrades every single time. And admittedly, that could have even maybe been worse on the 3-3 as well. I mean, it was just such a huge upgrade deficit to be down, and that's where I kind of question the meters a little bit, because I feel like that's why these builds just do very well against the faster mutalisks. You know, the faster mutas just struggle against heavy bio openers, and they just don't get value for having invested into them so soon. So a little bit problematic. Game number 2 here, as we get this one ready to rumble. Those are gold. Definitely a little bit more of a difficult map for the Zerg to sometimes stop the continuous rallied push. But also not a bad one. Good options for counterattacks and that kind of stuff as well. A Reaper is going to make its way down to the bottom side. And is going to get down to the natural here in just a few moments. So very standard Reaper versus Ling early game. Going to go for the drone initially. Not the best of grenades ever. And now starts to put some damage out onto the Zerglings. Doesn't quite get one. Obviously the micro heat from DRG should be good to stop any Lings going down. Green pops up. That's a nice grenade. Pops that drone away from the mineral line a little bit. Comes back around. Goes for the drone. Doesn't get the block on the extractor. And the Reaper is going to find a way out of there without... Wasn't even really a close call. And now up a ramp to deny the creep tumor. Not really going to happen either, right? So the creep tumor goes down fairly safely. And ByuN has to, well, settle for basically 0 damage done on the Reaper. Good defense from DRG, of course, is the main part of that, though. DRG moved the Lings around properly, moved the drones around as he should have done. And then put the creep tumor out. It's still even the creep tumor timing, right? He doesn't rush it out when the Queen is there. He puts it down at the right time. He puts it down when it makes sense. Based on where the Reaper is. He goes for the kill now. Pop that Queen off to the side. It was close. He probably would have lost the Reaper if he went for it, though. So, Reaper more important to keep alive, as we do see that stim pack starting up already once again. We go into a bit of a repeat of the last game. However, this time it really is only 2 Hellions. Okay, but we do go to 3 racks. I thought it might have only been 2. This third rack wasn't lined up right away. But I tell a lie, because it is just going to be the exact same as what we saw last time around. So those extra barracks going down quick into the bio, and that's where ByuN obviously feels the most comfortable. These bio builds, setting up for all of that. Very much so it's just very much so kind of how ByuN plays and how he's always really played, isn't it? Aliens hop up into the naturals. A few Marines hanging out on the ramp. Factory moves off the reactor. We'll move down south, and we'll see a starport on the way in the main base as well. This Rex, I'm sure, ready to hop over to this reactor too. Let's see a few more SCVs rallying out down to the natural. And the Reaper here is going to get ready to jump up into the main base. That Reaper does get picked off as our stim pack will be completing here fairly soon. And the double Evo chamber right down on the bottom side of the map as well. So a lot of setting up right now, a lot of getting ready to go. I do really like that this is upgrades instead of the lair. I think it's the switch up that you need. Makes good sense. As this circling continues out around to the top side. It's a little bit awkward because I feel like I already explained early kind of the difference in what DRG is doing this time than last time. Because this is what I was kind of asking for. This is what I wanted to see. Melee upgrades. You can see it gives them a little bit of a lead in the upgrades. You will still have the biggest thing, maybe the slower bailing speed, but bailing speed didn't really do him any justice in the last game anyway. And obviously, once you get bailing speed for the larger fights, that's generally when you really need it for. Love this link counter. You know what? One of the differences was last time there were indeed 4 Hellions, right? And this time it was still only 2. So with only 2 Hellions, these counterattacks are more powerful, and you lost 2 full HP or full timer mules. That's actually a huge deal as this overload goes down. That is actually a supply block, and that's a cancelled 4th base. No scan for creep was what I was going to say, but he does have the scan now, and that's a lot of creep actually. That's pretty much every active tumor. If he gets them all, which he should. There's just this one up here that gets away, obviously others in different directions, but this actually really harms the creep spread toward the 4th base when it comes back online. So yeah, he's actually going to take the 4th bottom right. Well, you can see already down here, there's no creep here yet, so yes, you're not going to have creep in front of here, but I guess you'll also have no creep down here. So either way, ByuN gets a 4th base from his opponent, which is creepless. And the big thing about that bottom right base is pushing from this 3rd down to that 4th. That's much easier than pushing out from this 3rd through the middle of the map down over here. So that's actually a pretty big deal, I think, and maybe ByuN can make something happen pushing in that direction if he can figure out that hatchery is down in the bottom right. The longer he sits here with no 4th base around, the sooner the more he probably starts to figure that out a little bit. As we're seeing here, Bane's actually going to start to connect, and the Marines have no option but to lift up and to back away. Isn't that just going to be seeing our Lings running through, and a couple of Widow Mines are going to start to burrow up. Nice couple of connections. So first Widow Mine does go off, gets a few of the Lings. The few Lings just still set off over on that left-hand side. So a couple missile turrets on the way. Marines come through, and they're going to fight against these crypt tumors as well. So getting a couple of those. Good trade-outs, honestly. As our Marines get rid of all these queens. What was that about? That's kind of wild. Bigling being counterattack. Okay, let's see what this can do then. Is you have the 3rd base looking as though it should get under attack here, and you can see the SUVs lifting to medevacs to get away. ByuN's bringing the rest of his Lings back home. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously a little bit problematic for sure, right? I mean, these Marines are super low HP because they've stimmed all the way home. You've lost a lot in this process. Good, perfect target fire, in fact, on the Banelings, but low health Marines surrounded by Zerglings here. Upgrades even. It will be enough for ByuN to turn it around. He will get back to mining. Only 11 workers down despite the 12 lost. Biggest part of this is DRG is on his way to mutas now, so he can maybe make this momentum into something more. The other thing is that 2-2 is really far along here from DRG, so the next couple fights may be difficult for ByuN. Trailing in those upgrades might just give DRG that slight edge that he's looking for. We'll see if that does turn out to be the case. Fire continues out down to the bottom side. Our mutas are going to fly into the main, where a couple of SCVs get picked off as well. Things will continue through. The Devo's in a little bit of trouble as well. Obviously now you've got that multi-prong potential as ByuN starts up at 4th base. That's definitely what's missing. Banes are going to force the SCVs to pull away, but not going to lie, there's not really any units here to really stop the continuation. He salvages the bunker. ByuN's just going to go all-out offense, I suppose. Salvages the bunker, says no need to defend over here. Surprised these Widow Mines aren't making their appearance across the map as well. Staying burrowed was a little surprised. You've got to babysit these units. Oh no, ByuN. I mean, kind of caught in a weird spot. He's somehow going to make something of this, right? I mean, I'm genuinely impressed because this felt like a disastrous position, and he's turning it into something right now. The Mutas even taking quite a bit of damage. A couple Banes left over, and they do start to connect. Marines are going to get medevac support as they boost back to help out, but the Mutas are picking them off one by one, and the Widow Mine will go off. The Lings and medevacs get blown up by that Widow Mine, so Widow Mine actually helping the Zerg a little bit too. And now there just isn't a defense on this 3rd base. There's no units here. The Widow Mine gets to go off at least, so that's something. The Lings are going to dive on the Marines before the count is too high, and there's just a lot of SCVs ripe for the picking right now. So he'll go and fight this, wait for more Lings, then he can dive back onto this army perhaps. Tries to split away, but the Widow Mine gets a really good connection anyway in the end. Problem is these mutas are just going to be too much. There's still Lings on that mineral line. DRG is going to force a game 3, and once again we're finding ourselves in a 3-game. As we have in the bottom right hand side, our blue Zerg is DRG. Taking on the Red Terran in the top left-hand side, we've got ByuN. Lightshade for our third map. Yeah, fun series today. Definitely felt like this one, DRG just got a lot of the last map. DRG just got a lot of those fights properly in his favor. Was able to really work the momentum well, and I think the big thing is he really got damage on the third base. You know, he forced that to lift off, he forced the SCVs away, and even when ByuN comes out in an okay SCV count, it's that lost mining, which is still applicable, right? It's still lost mining time that you didn't have for a little bit, which means you missed a round of units or maybe 2 rounds of units, and that definitely hurts. That definitely hurts. So definitely something to consider there as to how DRG was able to make that happen. We'll continue away. Is the SCV going to move on down? We're just about halfway done here from ByuN. We're going to see a command center setting up on the natural expansion as well. And obviously just very much so everything we expect it to be. Lightshade, one of the smaller maps here. Means that obviously some of the earlier attacks will arrive a little bit more quickly. This ByuN's Reaper will start to make its way down to the bottom right hand side. So Reaper moving across down to the bottom right. It's going to show up and a drone going to take a few shots of damage. Drone's actually kind of low. Obviously we know ByuN is a dangerous Reaper player. I think the problem is here, it's a little bit too difficult to get into this mineral line and have escape routes. If you are in this mineral line and you can't go out the front, your next best bet is to go into the main and out here, but that's kind of further away than it was on Pillars of Gold, so we might just not see that kind of dive as heavily kind of option from ByuN. Third hatchery's well underway. I mean, ByuN goes 3cc again, and we'll see if it's the exact same thing. Sorry, it will not be. Starport's already on the way, so he is going to change it up at least. I like that. I think after 2 games, it's not a bad thing to change up. And we'll see what DRG opts for in terms of his own decisions, right? We've seen the 2 major styles from him now, the faster lair option and the faster upgrade option. So I haven't seen those 2 already. I think is, well, I haven't already seen those 2 is definitely a... an interesting point. Viking is about halfway done here from ByuN as the command center finishes in the main base. Already has the 3cc setup as we mentioned earlier. Really is just going to be, I'm not going to say passive, right? But it is the very low commitment of the starport, just a Viking. He is going to build a medevac as well after. Maybe it's armory time, then maybe it's time to bring out those Hellbats. Viking into medevac means you can continue to produce Marines. He actually cancels Stim, so yeah, definitely looks as though that's going to be the case. DRG never scouted, but maybe in case an Overlord sneaks in here, you see Stim already, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's the army. So this is going to be a 3cc Hellbat attack. I'll scout that is for the Zergling, though. Gets to see the armory, and yeah, with the Ling Scout and the armory, obviously your decision is basically nullified. So he's just going to cancel that, save himself some gas, drop 2 racks a little bit faster. And with that canceled gas, I guess he can go back into Stim a bit more quickly here, although he hasn't done that just yet. ByuN should definitely look to do that. Obviously, without Stim, this is kind of scary in the future, so needs to go into that at some point. Alien drop, though, could be pretty cute, right? Is one way to still get damage done. Gets in for 6 workers right away. Is going to lift up all of those Hellions. This is pretty nice. 6 workers down. This was not bad. Only loses 2 of the Hellions. Obviously, I feel like didn't necessarily need to lose any there, but try to get a little bit more damage done. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, G's just going crazy on drones, though. Now realizing there's no attack coming his way, really. He's like, okay, 67 workers after losing a few. And he's off and away in that drone count. So getting away with the greed. As now ByuN goes into 5 racks pretty quick. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You've got the 3CC already. The upgrades are started. The next thing to do is the extra barracks. So I say pretty quick. It feels pretty quick, but obviously the game's taken a couple of interesting turns. So makes sense, I suppose, as our Marines will continue through the center. Viking going to take a few shots from the Queens. So Queen's putting some damage out into that Viking. 1-1 upgrade, stim pack, all of this continuing through. And we do have the barracks just going to finish up in the main base as well. So getting these racks completed. The Spires just ticking along as well. And ByuN going to bring Marines to the middle of the map too. I mean, we haven't seen really much aggression at all. We still don't have stims, so yeah, I think it has been more passive than ByuN obviously wanted it to be, having to cancel that armor, etc. But yeah, it feels like right now we're still not finding any opportunity. This time 4 Hellions at home, so the Link counter-attack should be well handled. I don't lose 2 full health mules this time around. That's actually a huge pickoff for DRG in the last game, so yeah, the extra Hellions here definitely going a long way, helping to clean this up. And again, one of the big positives about the setup that we have right now for ByuN is that he should be able to never take damage from kind of run-bys like this at this sort of timing. You know, those extra Hellions really should keep you safe in those scenarios. Medevacs to the top side, gonna unload a few Marines, and these Lings being picked away at. Marines out around the right are gonna go on a little bit of a hunt, see where they can get to. The hatchery up the right side is gonna be stimmed at as the Marines come forward. I mean, you can try and target those Banes if you like. Mutalists show up, so now you've got to unload on the high ground and make something out of this. He then drops to the side. He will keep the medevacs alive in doing so for at least a little bit longer. Can he save these? Oh, this is tough. Medevacs boost about to come back. He needs to boost them. No, he gets the boost. He saves them. Good decision then, because he could have dropped everything here and just traded out for what he could get. But he actually saw the opportunity to save the Mutalists, save the medevacs, sorry, and he actually does save them. So that's a big play from ByuN. He gave up a few Marines to save them. But he saves them in the end. 1-1 advantage at the moment for ByuN. Will be a 2-2 lead as well. The upgrades will be in his favor. Once again, not quite as severe as that first map, but still worth mentioning as a bit of being in the center here. And ByuN is going to start to burrow up those Widow Mines. A few Baneling shots initially, just trading out. Diddler's counterattack is not looking too hot either. Widow Mine shot on the way in, Thor shots when they got there, and now the Mutalists are bruised. They will not they will not be able to get back in the action for a few moments. They need to rest and recover. They heal easily, but obviously just shots like this is the big thing, and I think it's underrated in TVZ how valuable it is to get damage like this on the mutas, because it buys you so much time. All of a sudden, these mutas aren't going to be fighting, and look what ByuN does. He uses it as an opportunity to go across the map. And across the map you go. Queen gets deleted. And these mutas are, now the mutas are coming back home. They're finally back full of HP. The counterattack is just going to be a lot of Lings, but there are Marines and a Thor here, so reinforcements of ByuN are good to shut down DRG's counter. Pull back a little bit. Let's see how this fight goes. There's a few Banes are going to find the connections. Oh my god, those Banes were amazing. I mean, the fight wasn't terrible for ByuN, but the Banelings did everything they needed to. This game could have ended if those Banes didn't connect like they did. But they got those connections, and that's a huge win. We're still 2-2 against 1-1 right now, so ByuN is eager to reinforce and fight again. His 4th base finishing as a planetary behind this as well. Biggest issue is that the creep spread here is being denied multiple times, so now you're missing the creep you want to work with in this position. Again, Banelings do pretty darn well. Hatchery goes down, so you're limited to the right side of the map for your bases. Obviously, the problem is you get too much control here as ByuN. The next thing you know, you can rotate up to the top side, and DRG has to then start protecting with his life, because otherwise he's losing a base, which is keeping him in the game, basically. some very forward creep being cleaned out. He could have scanned a bit further back to get some active tumors. And I think Bjorn's just going to rotate around the top side. I don't really see why not make something of an attempt at least to try and play around those top bases. Definitely seems like one of the next stages of this, right? So on the front, we'll tank a few shots. Baneling's going down. Didn't really utilize in the middle of the map to his advantage. Looking at that resources lost, it's a 30,600 difference already, favoring ByuN heavily. Favoring ByuN heavily, and I'd say in a scenario where it's not like DRG's had a crazy good income. The last 2 or 3 minutes has been a bit better for him, but that's the last 2 or 3 minutes of an 11-minute game. It's not been a dominant one for DRG. Now, give it another 3 or 4 minutes, and then that maybe becomes a bigger deal. Marines and Marauders still pushing forward. The Banelings get to the front, and the Marauders were just there, split up to tank, and that was very minimal losses initially as going to pull back. Obviously, again, the Thor's doing a lot of the tanking here. The Widow Mine's helping with some of the splash damage. Extra reinforcements about to get here. This is going to be the issue where you've got reinforcing bio showing up, and the question is always going to be, is the next round of Banelings ready to go already? This time, the answer was yes. It's here. They're set. And there's even another round morphing in as well. So for the moment, DRG is keeping up with this pressure. Let's see if he can keep that in his favor as he's about to get to Ultras. If you get to Ultras, that's obviously the breaking point perhaps for ByuN. The good news for ByuN is that he has got Marauders, so the Ultras are not unhandleable for him, or unmanageable, I should say. You know, they are units which you can deal with right now. Widow Mines get baited onto an Overseer. Overseer's soaking up pretty much every Widow Mine shot. Oh my goodness. Wow, that was good. I mean, yeah, you kind of want a couple of Overseers alive, but if all the Widow Mines go off onto Overseers, that's generally good news. Only thing is here, now you actually don't get to clean those Widow Mines out, so they're going to get to fire again. And then the fact that they hit Overseers the first time around maybe doesn't matter quite so much. Thing gets picked. Oh, I like that there's an attack down this bottom side. Just feel like ByuN was, I don't want to say neglecting this side, but obviously that is a location you want to keep on denying as well. He didn't do as much there as I thought he would. As the Widow Mines do a good job initially, letting the Widow Mines do their work. The Ultralisk went down. The Thor now falling. There's only a handful of Marines left here as they're going to pull back, but DRG is just going to give it up. He has nothing on the rebuild is the problem. Like, if we take a quick rewind, just look where he's at as he types out GG. The bottom side I didn't realize, but was taking further damage. So down over here, these couple of Marines are picking away at drones. DRG, it feels like he's just not quite going to win this out, but then there's reinforcements ready, and DRG is looking at this and saying, well, what do I have? I have no lings currently on the map. And because I have no lings currently on the map, really, where am I going to get Banelings from to defend the next attack? He's down about 30 supply, and it might seem all of a sudden he's like, whoa, DRG GG's, but actually kind of like, yeah, like he's got no ultras on the way. He's basically fighting pure Ling Bane because his meters went down in these fights again and again, and he has none of those left, so you're fighting pure Ling Bane, mostly just Lings, against this Terran army. Not going to work, and ByuN picks up that 2-1 victory to take the win. GG's just like that.